Can everybody hear me? All right. So thank you for that introduction. And I wanted to thank Microsoft, NVIDIA, AMD, and Global Objects for inviting us to come here and talk to you today. My name is Bill Baer, and I'm with Support Partners. We are a Microsoft business partner, and I'll talk a little bit more about us. But the purpose of my conversation to you, and I really want it to be a discussion, so I can't wait for the Q&A after this, but is to talk really about transforming creative operations with tailored AI. I'm going to talk about what we mean by tailored AI as we go forward. A little bit about Support Partners. Hopefully, my machine will cooperate. Come on, baby. There we go. So we're about a 20-plus-year-old media-centric consultancy. We have been focused on all of the different sub-verticals of the media entertainment industry during our time period. We've worked with everything from very large studios and broadcasters all the way down to very small organizations. And like I said before, we are a Microsoft business partner. We're an exclusive Microsoft business partner and systems integrator. We've done a lot of managed services integration through our time period, helping customers modernize their operations by moving to the cloud. More recently, we've been starting to develop AI solutions with our clients to help propel them forward in the areas of reaching their clients better, as well as increasing and improving their employee engagement. So with that said, we also are an Adobe managed services integrator. So we kind of have a unique element to both of those key partners that we work with. So what I wanted to kind of take you guys through today was talking about this tailored AI. But before I do, when I've given a speech in the past, I've had people come up after the fact and say, you know, it'd been really great if you had defined some of the stuff you were talking about up front, so at least I know what you think it is. And so I said, okay, let me do that today and really talk about what is a definition of AI first and foremost. So with that said, what we really refer to it as at Support Partners is the simulation of human intelligence. And it's really around the ability to think and learn and program a machine to do that. But the key word here is simulation. So a lot of people are worried about it actually thinking and learning. I've been in the field of AI for about 35 years. I wrote my thesis in college in expert systems. And I won't say that I'm as expert as some of the people in other parts of Microsoft and so forth, but I think I have seen the journey, and I feel like what we're focusing on here at Support Partners is the ability to have it be assistive to all of us, much like the personal computer was as we moved from pencil and paper into the world of digitizing our workflows. So that's really about where we're going with it rather than replacing all of us, right? And so I just wanted to make that kind of clear, but it's really that simulation capability that we see in the definition. Now, in all of our engagements with clients, we have quite a few clients, and over that time period, over the last probably 10 to 15 years especially, we've started to get into artificial intelligence. And I want to talk about a few of the use cases as we go forward. But we found kind of three main categories of use cases that have come out, or challenges, I should say, that have popped up. And the first one's really around data quality and essentially the ability to have data brought together and be able to be utilized and be prepared for AI. Because at the end of the day, AI does not survive without data. And so we have been working on this challenge. The second challenge we have is around customization of AI and the ability to make it relevant to an industry, a company, and an individual role. And so a lot of the AI you see today is general purpose. You might think of OpenAI, ChatGPT, other large language models that are out there, and a variety of other machine learning models and the like. These are, in general, great tools. We see it as the next 5 to 10 years is going to be all of us applying them to our particular purposes. And that's just based on history that we see this as. And then the third challenge is really around integration with existing systems and the ability to integrate AI into these systems so that we can consume it. So with that said, we have been focusing about the blend of people, about the artificial intelligence capability, about automation, and media and data, and infusing that into a series of different AI use cases. And so we've started to categorize those into the 5 you see here. So many people have gotten the focus of generative AI and what that can do. In our case, to us, generative AI is a little bit broader. I won't go into in great detail here, but each one of these particular use case categories serves a different purpose and has a different goal in it. But when you blend these together, you get enormous power. And what some of the outcomes are that come out are kind of shared with you on here on the right. Hopefully I'm not in your way. But essentially, besides getting structured insight, and I thought it was a great presentation with what Xavier and Pablo just did on Producer. We have been working with them. If you haven't seen it, please see their booth, because I think what their tool does is amazing. And what we've had the fortunate benefit of doing is taking some of our AI engines, in this case a script analysis engine, and integrating it in with their tool set to allow it to basically automate the process of entering your script information directly within their tool. It expedites your process and helps you get to work faster. So that's kind of derived from this outcome of structured insight up here. In addition, we see people making smarter business decisions by having the information in front of them, having assistance to help. We also see reimagined workflows because we can do things in a different way than we ever did before. And we're still learning all of these things. And then ultimately, we see the ability to expand audience reach. This primarily right now is coming in the form of personalization at scale, right? And so those are some of the things that we see as really powerful AI outcomes. So there's been some recent AI advancements over the last few years that are really helping us overcome those 3 inhibitors. And I think that, I'm not going to go into these in great detail in the time I've got today, but one of them is around a construct of models. So a model is essentially a mathematical framework that's designed to perform specific tasks based on data, right? And so a lot of this, an example of a model is the script analysis engine that Pablo and Xavier showed just a few minutes ago, integrated with the Producer. The ability for that engine to basically extract meaningful information is, in fact, a mathematical model. The next construct that we use that helps us to see the AI advancements is really this area of agents. And an agent is kind of this autonomous entity that helps, essentially it perceives its environment, responds to that environment, and helps achieve a goal. And so we see that as an assistant, if you will, to help all of us work. But it works in the background in an autonomous way. So there's no user interface in an agent, right? It just sits back there. And there's examples of agents that I'll take you through here in a minute, because I've got a demonstration, so I hopefully won't bore you to death. The last construct is co-pilots. This is the user interface that most people know today when they think of AI. ChatGPT and other robotic type of natural language interfaces is a common co-pilot interface. In the case of Microsoft, they have their co-pilot interface that's integrated in with Office 365 and the like. Now, there's a ton of AI advancements that we've been utilizing in helping to make these 3 things come together in a tailored AI fashion. So I'm going to give you an example through a demonstration that we've built utilizing our platform, Air Fusion. And Air Fusion is what is sitting behind the script analysis engine that the Producer integrated. So first and foremost, what I'll do is talk about the roles that we're going to show in this demonstration. So the first role is Jane, the Producer. And she's going to go into this user interface, and I always utilize a video when I'm telling this, because me typing and talking at the same time do not mix. So in this case, what I have is we have a script that we have gotten from Microsoft, which happened to be one of their video games, right? And this script is being imported into the system using the script analysis engine that the Producer showed earlier, integrated with their tooling. And reason why I'm showing you this is so I can show you all the rest of the capabilities that happen after the fact. So in this case, what it did is it pulled out a lot of entities that were inside the script. So things such as the title, the author, the slug lines, the characters, the dialogue, all of that got extracted out and built into a structured piece of information, okay? In addition, it did some generative work too. So it derived the synopsis of the entire story and gave you a synopsis, a 1,000-word synopsis. It also goes through and looks at other insights, such as what are the unique selling points of this. And so those two things get pulled together and delivered back. And so what we're now showing is this Copilot that is we're going to interface with it, that is allowing us to ask questions about what the model just returned back to us. So in this case, what I'm going to be talking about is what's the ideal audience demographic for this script? How do I want to market this when I actually make it? And so the model basically returns back a series of answers to this question. And in this case, most of it I said, I already know, but this concept at the very bottom, I didn't. So what I can do is actually take that information and put it inside of my record now about the script. So in this case, what is my unique selling points? I want to pull out this information that the AI model gave to me. I'm going to save it so I can collaborate with others. The next thing I'm going to touch on is characters. So in this case, the ability to see what information was pulled out by the script analysis engine includes the name of each character, how many scenes they were appearing in, how many words they spoke, right? And from this, we can build statistical graphs that show us this information, which helps us to derive who is the main character in the stories, right? So we probably will focus there on how we're going to cast this. In addition, we see skills, which tells us what are the traits that an actor has to portray in order to be that role. So now we can take that information and we can return back to our Copilot, and we can ask our Copilot to help us suggest 3 actors to play the part of this. Now in this case, we integrated this with IMDb to simply pull out that information from their database. But we have other customers who basically say, hook it to my casting database. I want you to look through mine and pull out suggestions. So in this case, we found 3 suggestions, and we get asked if we want to add them into our system of record. And we say yes. And essentially now we have suggested actors that we can put through the casting process. In addition, we can look into the scenes. So in this case, we can chronologically see what all the scenes are, and we've pulled out all the information about the scenes, including an abstract of each scene, what's going to happen, what's going on. And so we see what all the characters are that are in each scene, and so we can start to understand how these scenes are laid out. We can start asking questions again on Copilot and ask ourselves, on this one, what are the 3 most important scenes in the story? Now, this is where it's really interesting to me, because in this case, this is a video game, and one of the main characters in the video game is Master Chief. And Master Chief doesn't come into this storyline until scene 63. Because of the importance of this beloved character, it deemed that this particular scene was of vital importance, even though that character isn't even the primary character in the storyline. So in this case, what we can now see is we can see how many, what the details are of this particular scene, if you will, and we can ask some more additional questions about the Copilot. In this case, we can ask it to create a storyboard for us, right? So utilizing, and everything we've built is on top of Microsoft's AI, one of the leading AI platforms in the industry. What we've basically done is we now asked it to create a storyboard. It asked us, hey, what kind of form do you want to put this in? We chose watermark, and it built a watermark storyboard of this particular scene. We can look at it and ask it if we like it or not. If we do, we can add it into this particular scene and say we now want that to be our storyboard, right? So now we're assisting ourselves trying to create this and understand the story as fast as possible as a producer, right? And be able to move and focus on the parts that are of high value. So we can progress further and we can look at the shot log. Now in this case, we can say, hey, we've got a vault So our Air Fusion platform has a vault of content that sits adjacent to it. And we can ask this to go out and look through that vault to find shots that I can pull in and not have to refilm. Common problem in the industry. So in this case, it basically said, all of these particular scenes have shots that you could pull from your vault. Would you like me to pull them? And we say yes. Then we click on one particular scene and it shows us 2 shots that it found for a scene that it requires a drone shot over a wooded area. So now we can decide if we want to pick these up and use them as an interstitial or something along that lines to put into our shot without having to refilm, right? So that's kind of a fast tutorial on some of the capabilities that we've been working on related to the producer. Now, as we move forward, we can also pick up John, who is the production manager. And in the case of John, he's going to be focused upon we've now decided we want to make this production, and he's going to go out and say, now how can I actually onboard the team to start using it? So one of the other capabilities of our Air Fusion platform is it actually provides virtual workspaces where people can work in the cloud. And in those cases, some of them might be a post-production team. So in this case, what the production manager is doing is he's asked to create an environment for a post-production team to use Final Cut Pro to go edit their content. And so up comes a prompt and it says, hey, can you give me these details about the size of the team you want, what you want them to be using, and what days do you want this environment to be started on and then demolished? And it will set that whole environment up for them. They don't need to contact a technical person to do this. It's all done for them. So a non-creative person is basically setting up the cloud environment dynamically for them. In addition, that cloud environment is optimized, so it is paused when they're not working, and it is automatically brought back when they return to work. And in addition, when they no longer need it, it's demolished automatically. Now, at any of these times, they can basically be alerted and say, no, I don't want this to happen or so forth, or I can go to a manager and ask for approval, and all those workflows can be brought in. What you're seeing right now is essentially the status that says it's now running and ready for work. John can then share this with the rest of the team, the endpoint, and say, here's where you can go work, and you guys can start using the content. What you're seeing here is a quick little heads-up display of the archive, and it allows John to basically look at the archive and look at statistics of how big his archive is, how big the dailies are that are coming in, and manage the cost of those. Lastly, we have Jake, the line producer. And what Jake is focused on here is budget. So I think the gentleman in the second to back row, he was talking about budgets before. Realize it's a very complicated topic, but we've had customers come to us in the guise of tailored AI, and we have been working with them to build kind of common budget plans that they could utilize. Usually these are requiring a tailored environment for each client. In this case, what we have is broken down the budget into 4 key categories, which is, essentially above the line and below the line, and then we have post-production and some other indirect costs. And we're showing here what the list of costs are. This particular role is trying to find out how they can get some cost savings. So they ask for 3 more recommendations for how they can reduce the budget. Using our model and using a history of other projects and their success rates, we basically give them back 3 recommendations here. John, or I think it's Jake, sorry. Jake basically says, okay, I like the one of them, which is the bottom one, which is marketing and distribution. It's estimated at $35,000 savings compared to what's in my budget right now if I automate translating to our foreign languages and doing our dubbing. So Jake goes in and updates his budget, reduces it by that $35,000. Now Jake has to actually take action to automate that challenge, right? He can't just claim the savings and not do anything. So he goes back to Copilot and says, hey, Copilot, can you please go ahead and perform the translation on my finished work? And it comes back with prompts and says, sure, please tell me more. And so he essentially tells the translation engine where the content is and where they want it stored when it's done. And in the process, it goes off and creates a service that performs that translation. Behind the scenes, this is all happening. And then essentially what you're going to see next is a viewer that, and this is fast forwarded, of course, because the translation doesn't happen this quickly, but essentially what happens is you'll see that they'll bring in an SRT file, which is representing of Spanish translation, and the finished video that they used in the production, okay? And so ultimately, what this is attempting to show is all the capabilities of blending models, agents, and co-pilots together to form an entire workflow that allows you to essentially tailor your workflows to each customer, to each employee, to each industry. So that's what we've been working on as a team, and we're actively soliciting customers who would like to be early adopters of what we're doing, and we love what we've been doing and working on with the producer, and we think that jointly we can do some great things in the industry, and we'd love to hear from all of you and what your needs are as we go forward. To kind of finish up, this code right up here is a link to a white paper that we've written on the topic, so feel free to scan that and download that white paper. We are, like I said before, a really big advocate of the Microsoft platform. What our superpower is that we've blended people from the media and entertainment domain. So we have people from marketing, from studios, from sports, broadcasters that we've brought together. And that domain knowledge has been paired with people who have expertise in cloud and AI that are exclusive to Microsoft. And we have brought those two things together. And we feel that that is our superpower as a company, that we can deliver differentiated solutions for our customers. That's it.
Excellent. All right. Questions for our friend Bill? Anybody? Questions? How about you? You got back there? Oh, there's a hand. Oh, well, forget it. No, just kidding.
Your URL doesn't take you, it just takes you to your website, not to your white paper. So if you're...
There should be a download button right there on the white paper at the top. If not...
Well, what kind of co-pilot crap is that?
Wow.
Just kidding.
I have to talk to somebody about that. You see it? Yes. That's it.
All
You
right.
just got to fill out your information and you can download the white paper.
Anybody else? Oh, yeah, we have one over here. Great.
Hey, thanks for the talk. So I just wanted to better understand from what you showed, what was personalized and what was off the shelf? Because I couldn't tell if the Copilot itself was just a generic Microsoft Copilot LLM that's running in the background. And then I couldn't tell what was an agentic workflow in that context. And then additionally, I missed the producer talk. So if you could, like at a high level, talk through what was producer and what was you. And by the way, the backdrop is I'm a full believer in the idea that we need this layer that you are talking about, which is this custom integration layer that connects all the pieces, because the models themselves can't fulfill the customer solutions.
Yeah, great question. So I could go on a long time to answer that question. That's a loaded question. So I will try and summarize it given the time we got. The Copilot that you saw was essentially trained to understand how to route questions that we perceive these three roles would ask to the right agents. And we have a whole slew of agents behind the scenes here. Agents that understand how to do translation, agents that know how to perform highlights packaging and sequences building, agents that know how to search and find content, other ones that know how to build subclips. List goes on, right? Each of those agents has a task. And what happens is the Copilot or other agents, depending on the situation, coordinate or choreograph between these individual agents that know how to do one thing. And when we start pulling them together, that's when we get into the agentic workflows that you mentioned and the power of basically compounding them together. So What we did is, essentially, if you looked at the agents that we find out there today, most of those are very generic large language models, like I'm going to send your request directly to an LLM, and whatever it gives back, I'm going to pass it back to you. What we do is we interpret that and say, you know what this person's actually looking for example, is to go and create a translation. Well, an LLM is not going to know how to do that translation, so we immediately intercept that and say, we're going to route it to an agent that actually knows how to do that translation. Call our particular platform, which performs that task, and do it, right? So that's a tailored AI component. The models, we build a model called VideoScribe, and VideoScribe is basically a narrator of content. Now, many narrators out there of content that basically give you back what's in the video or what's in the audio don't break it down by your particular content. So let's say you're a sports organization and you want to understand what the people, the highlights, the objects are that we're looking at. We can tailor our scribe very quickly to what you want out of it, and we can have it narrated in the form that you like it. So in that case, they could tailor it to narrate it like their announcer narrates it as a sports of that type. We can teach it on the vernacular of that sport fairly quickly. So it's not using really dumbed down language. It actually knows if this is a basketball game, what a three-pointer is and what a hook shot is and what double dribble means. And it doesn't erroneously translate those things using an LLM. So that's what I mean by tailored AI at the model, the agent, and the co-pilot level. Does that answer your question?
Excellent.
Okay,
Great job. Great way to bring it home, Bill.
we try. Thanks, everybody.